Princess Kate has been snapped out and about in the past week since her planned hiatus from public life due to abdominal surgery. But these sightings are doing nothing to curb wild conspiracy theories that are spreading through the mainstream media and social media like wildfire. Sky News All-Star Douglas Murray has been one outspoken commentator that is slamming the wild rumours about Kate, calling for calm and common sense when discussing the issue. Princess Kate has been largely MIA since the beginning of the year. Her planned abdominal surgery and recovery was widely communicated, but that hasn't stopped the princess's personal health battles becoming public fodder. Sky News All-Star Douglas Murray has had enough. The outspoken commentator is struggling to understand what all the fuss around Kate Middleton is about, telling Sky News All-Star Rita Panahi, "I can't understand it at all."
Hesitate to ask you about this rather frivolous story. Only one could argue it's not as frivolous as it first seems. What is your take on the Kate-gate fake photo scandal? It has caused an almighty media storm. We've even got academic journals here in Australia writing about it. Every mainstream media outlet is crazy about it. Firstly, do you believe that Kate is responsible for those 16 editing errors that were identified, at least 16? What do you make of this bizarre story?
I can't understand it at all, Rita. I have to admit, I can't understand it at all. Maybe you can explain it to me. I just don't get it. First of all, the analysis of the photo, the minute it came out, I couldn't understand. It just seemed to me to be a happy family photo. But then, what is this photo editing thing, Pete? I've got to ask you. What are the changes? What are the changes? Because, I mean, if the allegation is, I don't know, that Kate looks totally different and she's edited herself, I suppose that makes sense. But they seem to be saying that all the photo is edited in different ways and people's legs are crossed in ways they wouldn't. I don't know. I don't quite know what people are trying to imply, and I wish they'd come out with it. It's baffling to me. The one thing I would say is that it is probably a good example of why people in the public eye, particularly very prominently in the public eye like royals, should be very careful about acceding to demands to sort of show themselves. If the Princess of Wales is ill, she clearly has been ill for some time. If this is the case, then it's probably best just to say, that remains the case and not to release photos that have to be returned because they've been edited in some way. I think that it's very important, and the royals actually have learned this lesson in the past. It's actually very important not to accede to too much public pressure when there are private matters at stake. And if I was giving them advice, I would say, first of all, just try to bear in mind that you need to recover in your own time. Don't release photos and don't unleash this blizzard of speculation online, because I've seen people go into sort of all sorts of mad corners, Rita, as I'm sure you have. And I think the explanation will simply be that a very nice and a young woman who's been serving her country is recovering, and that's it. And all the people who want to find evidence that the moon landing didn't happen from this photo, they're going to be disappointed.
Well, I've got to say, you and I are both naive, because when I first saw the photo, there was no suspicions of wrongdoing, or it could be fake or manipulated or any question marks. I was just like, oh, it's another nice photo of Kate and the kids.
Yes.
But
Sky News All-Star Esther Kraku agrees, saying she's unsure why the story has blown up so much.
So when the Princess of Wales announced that she was taking some time off to recover from abdominal surgery back in January, I believe it was January the 16th, she said that according to medical advice, she would likely only be back in her royal duties after Easter, and I suspect that still remains to be the case. Now, this story has completely blown up for reasons that remain unknown to me. This is just a woman that did some editing on a picture, and suddenly the world has lost its mind, it seems. But there is a lesson here, and the lesson to be learned here is the fact that the royals and the royal PR machine is extremely fragile, and they're always kind of walking this tightrope of being accessible but not too accessible to the public. I mentioned before, I think Kate felt the need to release that picture because of these rumors that were circulating about where she really is. Is she actually recovering from surgery? A group of people online were using this as a way to speculate that she had a BBL and that she was going to come out looking like a Kardashian. Some people used this to link to the fact that no one ever landed on the moon. I mean, it was just ludicrous.
And it seems they may be right. Princess Kate was photographed on her first public outing at a farm with Prince William this past weekend. But this has done nothing to calm the conspiracy theories being thrown around online. Sky News All-Star Angela Mollard says the royal PR machine is stuck in the dark ages and not up to speed on dealing with social media, which may affect access to the royal family moving forward.
With the royal family over the years, but I think it's one that begs the question, is the palace, Kensington Palace and Buckingham Palace, are their PR machines up to speed? They are now operating in a social media universe, but they don't seem to be up to speed with how to play in that universe. It's all very well, everybody now is a brand, everybody has their own megaphone through social media, but if you are going to do it, then you need to do it properly. And what's also really sad about this is that Kate and William have always given us pretty good access. They've taken photos themselves of their own children. I wonder how that might now affect that. Kate is clearly going to be annoyed. She's going to be very cautious about what she does going forward. So those lovely photos that we've seen for, 10, 11 years now of the children, we may not see them again. So I don't think it's a massive trust issue, but I think it will play out for some time to come.
British historian and writer Tessa Dunlop is also blaming the palace, saying their refusal to release the original photograph is fueling conspiracy theories.
Well, I don't go with the conspiracy theorists. We know she isn't in a coma. She was today spotted inside a car that dropped William at the Commonwealth Service. Incidentally, please note that didn't get any coverage in Westminster today. But certainly something's awry. I wonder if it wasn't this is pure speculation on my part, but I believe it was something quite serious. Otherwise, why wouldn't the palace have just put out into the public domain the original undoctored photograph and said, look, I thought I could improve it with a little bit of airbrushing here and there, but here's the original. They didn't do that, and in not doing that, they further stoked or fueled the fires of conspiracy and cynicism. And it makes me think, we know she's post-operative, we know she's been unwell, had a major health blow, and therefore perhaps maybe wanted to use an old photo where she looked a bit more rosy and what she thinks is more her normal self. That's speculation on my part. Either way, by trying to control the narrative, they've lost control of the news agenda entirely. And it's interesting, Laura, and she referred to this today in her apology tweet, where she refers to herself as an amateur photographer. Why? Why did Kate's main hobby become photography? Well, again, it was another way of the royal family trying to exert some control. You can have pictures of my children if I take them. Of course, now she is the subject of all this media interest. Who takes the photo? I mean, if you look at that shot, and my first reaction when I saw it yesterday was, wow, not only is William a future king, but he's also an incredible photographer. I mean, it did look too good to be true. If you've got children, to get everyone saying cheese and looking delightful and framed beautifully, very, very hard if you're busy Prince Dad. Unlikely.
Ms. Dunlop has also highlighted the chaotic time the royals have experienced since the Queen's death and the potentially catastrophic effect this has had on the firm.
Beyond this media frenzy, Laura, which will run on, it's like a wave motion. You know how it works. Something else will pop up, we'll briefly forget. But actually, there is a greater existential crisis for the royal family going on right now. That fault line, when the baton shifts from one monarch to another, is always a weak point. Doesn't matter what century you look at, that is always a danger point. We knew there would be problems moving from the incredibly impressive, hugely popular late Queen to Charles, but I don't think we expected the chickens to come home so quickly. We've got a king with an unnamed cancer. We've got the lightning rod, the glamour, the grace and the beauty of the future royal family, i.e. Kate Middleton, because that's all we've got now, out of action with an unnamed illness, shying away. She was caught briefly in the car today, turning her face away from the press. And this woman who seemingly lent into being a royal, who actively chose it because she chose to marry William. She'd been in Britain, she'd been in the boarding school system, she knew what it involved, and she seemed to be leading really quite brilliantly and taking over, this new guard. Now it appears that she's taken a bit of time off, she's feeling vulnerable, and a bit like workers who never returned from COVID. Maybe, who knows, and this is again speculation on my part, is she sitting there thinking, what was I doing glad handing on that crazy roundabout? A sense that perhaps she doesn't want the gig as much as she once did. And can you blame her, Laura?
No.
Esther Krakow has made the comparison between the Sussexes and the Waleses, urging Kate and William to learn from the mistakes of Meghan and Harry as they navigate this tough time.
And in contrast, unfortunately, this happened at the same time. In contrast, you had Princess Catherine, who's perfectly entitled to not reveal details of her medical diagnosis, but she did reveal that she had abdominal surgery and was going to be effectively MIA for 2.5, 3 months. And unfortunately, I think that broke the public in a way that no one ever anticipated. The palace is going to be more careful moving forward. I think, again, the issue here is straddling that fine line between making yourself available to the public, but not too available. And unfortunately, the closest example you can draw to that are the Sussexes, the faux royals across the pond. I mean, they kind of went for the American style, let's reveal everything, let's talk about our feelings, and they didn't really endear themselves to the public, because in as much as they saw their grievances as valid, most people just saw the sheen wear off. You had just a couple of really rich, wealthy, literally a prince and princess whinging about their lot in life, and many people couldn't identify with that. They were talking about things that were clearly close to their hearts, like climate change, but then were taking a private jet every chance that they got. And so, in many ways, the Waleses have had to learn from the Sussexes' blunders. There are many of them, and not go down the same route. Now, do you completely shut yourself off? No, because once you open Pandora's box and you make yourself available to the public to a certain extent, you have to maintain it. And so the Waleses have had to really kind of figure out what is the best way to do that. And unfortunately, this is one instance where it didn't go too well for them.